Dogs, it's Mrs. DeHart. I am here today with some of the fabulous special teachers at Loper. I am Mrs.
Yay.
DeHart, and I'm in the library. And today is kind of different. I'm going to pass the mic to Miss Phillip. She's going to introduce herself, and she is going to be the host of this today. So that could be kind of fun. And we are going to play kind of a little game, but I will let Miss Phillip tell you all about it.
Cool. All right. Hi, Loper Bulldogs. We miss you so much. I hope this is a good way for you to kind of get to see our faces. I know it's been a while, but we wanted to just kind of let you know of some of our favorite things and some of the things that are special to us. So you guys see us in your specials classes all the time. You see me in music, but what you don't know is that there's lots of other things that I love to do. And so we're going to kind of tell you about some of our favorite things today. So we'll go ahead and start with PE. So we do lots of exercising in your gym class, and there are definitely some ways that we like to get exercise that we would like to share with you. So I guess I'll go first. So exercise-wise, I love walking. I love walking my dog. So we do that every day, trying to get her out and get exercise, and that's just one of my favorite ways to get moving. Mr. Wade?
I enjoy doing push-ups. Most of my students have seen the way Mr. Wade does his push-ups, the inverted type, balanced up on the wheelchair. And I enjoy riding my bike. I get out every chance I get. Some of my students have seen me out on it, out and about. It's a special one. You can pedal it with your hands. So that's one of my favorite things to do.
That's awesome. I just got a bike a couple days ago, and I haven't ridden a bike in about 12 years, and I rode it last night. And I'm so shocked that I could actually remember how to ride a bike, but that's what they say, you know, you never forget. So
it's a great
What about you, Mrs. DeHart?
That's actually mine is Caleb and I have been taking bike rides. We've been really utilizing that Blue River Trail. Caleb just got a new bike, and we have been putting on our helmets and hitting up the Blue River Trail, and that's kind of my favorite thing lately.
That's awesome. Cool. All right, Mr. Sutton, you're up.
My favorite exercise?
Yeah.
I was going to say my favorite exercise is probably sitting on the couch and eating donuts.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But no, as far as real exercise, my favorite would be going outside and walking. I enjoy the fresh air, and I love to walk, long walks and just looking at everything and looking at nature and looking at different houses, and walking by far is my favorite exercise, definitely, besides sitting on the couch and eating donuts.
Well, and where you live, Mr. Sutton, you get to see lots of buildings, I'm sure, lots of really cool buildings and houses, and so that is really awesome.
Yeah, my mom, just actually recently, my mom did come over. And during this whole time period, the only person I'm really seeing is my mother. And she came over, and we took a really nice long walk together. And we walked all through a neighborhood called the Old North Side. And it's filled with lots of old Victorian houses. But it's a really beautiful neighborhood. And we probably walked for about 2 or 3 miles together, and saw lots of beautiful flowers and neat houses, and so I definitely love to walk.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I saw your pictures on Facebook from that.
And it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good to get out of the house and to get some sunshine and get fresh air, and it's good for us, and it's super good for all the kids too.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, those are good ideas for some of our kiddos to get moving. What about your favorite book or your favorite series? And this could be maybe something that you like now, or maybe something that you liked when you were some of our Loper Bulldog age kids. So if you have something for that, I will go ahead and do mine. I loved growing up the Mercer Mayer, the Little Critter books. I know Mrs. DeHart's seen me in the library trying to search around for those books, but I loved those growing up. I also love like the Eric Carle books. Those are also really awesome. So, Mr. Wade, what about you?
I am a huge fan of the Harry Potter series of books. Not so much the movies. I like the books a lot more. And I also the Goosebumps books by R.L. Stein, absolute classics. I've loved them as a kid, and I'd still pick one up now and read it.
That's awesome. I feel like we've got some Goosebumps fans at Loper, but Mrs. DeHart would know more about that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, big time. Goosebumps is a big hit at Loper.
Cool.
And good books.
Yeah.
Awesome. What about you, Mrs. DeHart?
My all-time favorite is any book by Judy Blume. That's my favorite now and when I was younger. And I also love any Roald Dahl books. So like Matilda or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, any of those. And I always really push those books on the kids. So those are my favorite books then and now, for sure.
Awesome. Good suggestions. All right, Mr. Sutton, you're up.
Well, I've always loved to read ever since I was in elementary school. I love books. My favorite series, I would have to say my favorite series by far since I was a little boy is the Wizard of Oz series. And most of the kids know the movie, and the movie is a classic as well, but I really love the books. And they're similar to the Harry Potter books in that there was The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and then the author wrote about 12 more books in the series.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there's probably 12 or 13 books in the series. And I love all of them. I have all of them. And one of my favorite things about them was I love the illustrations. They're beautiful, like pen and ink illustrations. And I loved them since I was a kid. I think my aunt gave me one, and I've loved them ever since. So those are definitely my favorite series of books.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. I know I've seen lots of Wizard of Oz stuff in your classroom and your mugs and things like that. So that's really good to know. Awesome.
Yeah, I have a whole collection.
Cool. Well, speaking of the art room and all things art and creative, I would love to hear what everybody's favorite way to be creative is, or like what are your favorite kinds of creative hobbies that you have or outlets that we have. So I'll go ahead and start with my favorite thing, which is I love to paint. So the kids probably don't know that about me, but I've actually been working on some little paintings here at the house that I plan on putting up in my classroom in the fall. So you'll get to see those soon. And I love to do things on the Cricut. So I cut out vinyl in different shapes, things like that. And I can stick them on water bottles and stick them around my classroom. I've got some quotes in my classroom already, but I'm hoping to do more with that this next year. So I love art. I love being creative like that. So, Mr. Wade, what about you?
Not so much art-wise, but my way of being creative is, when I do my sports, a lot of them require gloves, and I have become an expert at making two-fingered gloves.
Oh,
I can
cool.
modify the five-fingered gloves into two fingers, and I've done it for other teammates and other athletes that needed similar work done, that would just, before they'd use tape or an ace bandage or something else, and now they actually have padding and protection that they need. So
that's awesome.
been
How do you
neat
make,
to spread
like, do
that
you sew
around.
them?
Yes, I do all hand sewing. I carefully disassemble the glove as it is and then put it back together in the shape that we need it to be. Sometimes I can take two gloves and make a single glove out of it, just whatever we have laying around. I have bits and pieces of gloves everywhere just to make new things. So,
Wow, that's so cool. So you're sewing. That's awesome. That's a cool skill to have. Mrs. DeHart?
I also love the Cricut. I love creating anything on the Cricut. I even love just writing, but I have always loved art. I I actually had, Mr. Sutton will love this. I had Mrs. Quellhorse when I went to Colston when I was in elementary school, and she was amazing. And I loved art then, and I still love it. My creative brain like never stops. So I feel like, drawing or even like coloring with crayons. Like I am always up for a good art project. But yeah, I even love like, there's no real way for me to do this, but I remember in high school, like I even loved doing pottery. I thought that was so fun. So, but now, yeah, my Cricut is kind of my best friend. So I love creating different things with that.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities on the Cricut. And Bulldogs, if you don't know, if you haven't seen one before, they're a big machine that you can program to cut different shapes and letters and all sorts of things. So it cuts it out of paper. You can cut it out of vinyl or fabric or leather. There's all sorts of possibilities. So it keeps us busy with something like that. You could do so many things with. And Mr. Sutton, what about you? I know you probably love all sorts of creative things, but what are some of your favorites?
Well, of course, I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to be an art teacher is because I love art so much. And I've loved art just like I've loved books ever since I was a little boy. I think my favorite art form, I would have to say, is painting. I love to paint when I can. I love to mix colors. I love to use the Mr. Brush and just experiment with brush strokes and paint. And the thing that I love about art the most is that you can express how you feel inside through painting or drawing or even coloring. And if you're angry or if you're sad or if you're happy, you can use certain colors or brush strokes and you can get that expression out in your artwork, similar to how you could do with music as well, to be able to express those feelings in a positive, helpful way without hurting other people, and then you feel better afterwards. And it's art and music and athletics too, and reading are all good ways to get your feelings out and to make yourself feel better.
I think they all just take you to a different world,
Yeah.
like you're kind of outside of what your reality, like you just can be yourself however you want to be with all the specials.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's what makes us so special. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're lucky to teach what we do.